So if it's Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Time, it is time for Beyond Belief Sobriety, the live stream. Welcome, everybody. There's 10 people in the room already, now 11. I'm always excited to see the people jump in. Please say hello when you come into the chat. I'd like to know who's out there. So today we're going to be talking about the International Conference of Secular AA that will be coming up this coming weekend, October 29th to October 30th. And Mary and I have invited a person from the board of the Secular AA board. His name is Mikey, and a lot of people know him. He's from Omagod, and he is going to help us go through the schedule, which I will put up here for you all to peruse. Joe C is in the room, and Judy is in the room. Hello, both. Glad to see you both there. So I tell you what, before I just ramble on mindlessly here, I'm going to go ahead and bring Mary and Mikey out, and we can get things started here. Let's bring Mary and Mikey on screen. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey,
Great.
everybody. How you doing, John?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad to be home. I was in your state for a little while. I was in
I know.
Georgia,
Mhm.
and Atlanta is a beautiful place, a huge city.
Mhm.
It's funny whenever I'm here in Kansas City and I think this is a really big city, but then I go to some place like Atlanta or Chicago and I'm like, no,
Not really.
we're not really that big.
Not really.
But by Missouri standards, yes, we're huge. So anyway, we're here. Hey, Bree, good to see you. Sue, Walker, John, and Joe and Judy all in the room. Always nice to have people watching us. So today we're going to go through the schedule that has been published. I think it still might be kind of a working schedule. I'm not sure. And we're going to talk about what you might be able to expect at the conference that'll be coming up and describe some of the workshops that will be going on and some of the speakers. And you can ask questions if you would like, just either in the chat and YouTube or Facebook if you're watching there, or you can call us at our toll-free number. And I'm going to go ahead and put that number up there for you so that you can see it and call in. It's 844-899-8278. Why don't we begin, Mikey? I'll let you do this with explaining what this is. What is the International Conference of Secular AA?
It is a party. It's it's Secular Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm not really sure about the history. Joe would be better off telling you about that. But basically, it's an event that's put on. It's completely free online. It usually coincides with the face-to-face in-person convention. And it's an opportunity for people with like minds to really research and expand their recovery in Secular Alcoholics Anonymous. This particular event that we're having is going to be off the chain as far as the diversity of events that we have.
Okay.
I mean, authors and uh, uh, workshops, games. I mean, just the whole gamut of programs, but also in topics. I mean, they're going through. We have therapists talking about emotional sobriety. We've got people talking about chemical or plant-based recovery. There's just all kinds of neat stuff coming up.
Okay. I can tell you a little bit about the history. I've been to all of the actual physical conferences, and it started in 2014 with Pam W. and Dorothy H. And I'm going to forget their other partner who passed on at the time. Joe, remind me what his name was because I'm embarrassed I can't remember. But they decided that they were going to throw a party. They learned that there were these other agnostic groups outside of Hollywood, California, and they thought, wouldn't it be fun to bring these people from all over the world here and we'd have a big party? So they had the first conference in Santa Monica, California in 2014, November 2014. And I attended that. We had a live stream where we talked about that not too long ago. And the next conference was in 2016. It was in Austin, Texas. And that was a very popular conference. I think that we had more people there, and the number of secular AA groups grew exponentially after that conference. And then they voted at that conference to change the name from We Agnostics, Atheists, and Free Thinkers in AA to Secular AA, or International Conference of Secular AA. And the next conference was held at in Toronto, Ontario. And Mary, you were there in Toronto.
I was there. Yep.
Yeah, were
I
you
couldn't
that?
wait. I
Were you
wanted
there, Mikey?
I was there in Austin
In Austin. Okay. I
Yeah.
remember you in Austin.
when it was WAFT.
It was
Right.
WAFT. Yeah.
That's
Thank
such a
goodness it's
bad
not
name.
WAFT. Yeah, it was a bad name. It was.
Bad name.
And
Yeah.
then after Toronto, we were going to move to Washington, D.C., but then a little thing called COVID came along. And ever since then, we've been online. So that's where we are today. And the online conferences, as Mikey mentioned, are free. We have speakers and workshops just like you will have at the uh, in-face conferences. And they're fun. You can come and go as you please. And I think there'll be events going on simultaneously. So you can pick and choose what you want to go to. And Mary and I will be live streaming at the conference. And if you don't want to watch it live, it'll be recorded. You can watch it later. So that's always fun. So what should we do? I can throw the schedule up and maybe we can go through it. Should we do that?
Sure.
And also, Joe C said he's, on ready to talk. If we ask him any questions, he'll be there.
Okay.
Yep.
Joe, you can either call in or I can send you a link and you can come into the studio, whichever you prefer. But our number there, it's flashing on the screen, or I can send you a link. Fred, good to see you. Dale, good to see you. And John B, you all came into the room here late. Good to see you. Nice to have you here. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to do a screen share of the schedule. And here we go. Boom, 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 boom. And there we go. So hopefully y'all can see that if you're actually watching. A lot of people actually don't watch the live stream; they just listen. But if you just want to check this out for yourself, I'll put a link to the thing for you there.
It's a beautiful graphic.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it is. Did you design that, Mikey?
No, the logo. Well, I put it together, but the logo is the one that's been used since I think the beginning, and the actual program was done by Allison.
Okay.
She did a great job. I love it, and I love that you put in the
Yeah.
circle so much to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Okay. So anyway, let's go
Beautiful.
through this and see what's going on. So the 5th Annual International Conference of Secular AA, right here, right now, Varieties of Secular Recovery, October 29th through October 30th. And it gives you the meeting ID. This is on Zoom and the password. Are you just using only one Zoom room, Mikey?
We're actually using two. It's going to be it's not going to be like it was before. Basically, we'll have breakout rooms. So people
Okay.
will come in and they'll have the welcome lounge, and we'll just kind of show you how to get around. And then a list will come up, and you can choose wherever you want to go from there. If you want to swap from the game room to a meeting, or if you want to check out another meeting at another time, you can just change break rooms without actually having to leave the convention itself. And then if you get lost, you can always come back to the lounge and we can redirect you and hang out or whatever.
And when can people show up? When do you open the doors?
It's going to start at 9:30 Eastern time.
Eastern time. Okay, 9:30.
Next Saturday.
A.m.
Yeah, and
Eastern
actually,
time.
we're coming up with one of these with actual clickable links.
Okay.
But yeah, we will have that out super soon, and we're having different versions. So if you're in the Pacific time zone, the time zones will be for Pacific. And when you get there,
Okay.
we'll hand you a link to the current one.
Okay.
But yeah, the exception is there's 4 translated meetings that will be going on. The translated meetings are going to be in another room completely, another Zoom ID, and those Zoom IDs are listed on the schedule. So if you get to our convention and you want to go to one of the ones that's being translated, we'll just redirect you, and you can just click the link and hit a button, and boom, you're in the new one.
I just burped. I hope that didn't.
No, nobody heard it.
Okay.
I can smell
So
it.
there'll be Spanish and French translations, correct?
For some meetings, yeah.
Right.
I think the first one is step 6 and 7 at 8. How to change step 6 and 7. That's going to be translated into Spanish. And at 9, there's a keynote address from Dr. George Koob, who's the director of the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. And that is going to be translated into Spanish. There's also on the next day on Sunday, there is the New Frontiers in Recovery, integrating plant-based recovery. That's going to be on at 8 o'clock in the morning, in translated into French.
Okay, great.
There's also the doctor's opinion, which is on Sunday, unpacking the doctor's opinion, which is going to be awesome. That's also translated into French, and that is in the separate room as well. But again, you can just use the regular
Sure.
link, and we'll redirect you.
Okay. Just
Great.
as the logo was made by a member of the Toronto 2018 event, it was Nigel. Nigel made that
Oh, perfect.
that logo.
Thank you, Nigel.
So that is good to know. So I tell you one concern I have right off the bat. You're trusting the Kansas City group to host the ICSAA Cafe.
I just set up the rooms. I just set up the rooms. I have no opinion on the Kansas City
Oh
group.
my God. Oh, they'll do a good job. They're very friendly people. That's one good thing you can always count on about people from Kansas City. They're going to be nice and friendly. You know, they're not going to give you a hard time. They shouldn't anyway. But just be kind to them when you show up.
Yeah.
And then there's a game room. And what are you doing in the game room?
It's going to be a cross between at our mostly agnostic group of drunks. We play on Friday nights. We play Family Feud, and it has become insane. So it's very popular. So we're going to be playing that and trivia, probably a Jeopardy type trivia with a board and sound and all that kind of stuff. And the nice thing about the way that it's one thing I did neglect to mention. One nice thing about this particular setup is that if you are in a meeting and it's going over, there's no time constraint to get out to get to the next room because each one is in its own room. So it's not like sometimes in conventions, people will start piling in at the end because they're ready for the next one. That won't happen here. It's just going to be you in that room. And if it wants to go over, you can stay until the cows come home.
Okay.
Or whatever they do in AA. But yes, we will have a game room, and that's going to have trivia, stuff like that. And if anyone wants to bring some ideas for other games, I'm sure we'll be into that too.
Well, that sounds like fun.
And are the trivia questions going to be about the history of AA or what?
We have one member who is so good at AA trivia that he never gets off the board. We're like, okay, can we let someone else? But yes, it'll be a mix between regular AA questions, and then we'll have regular like Britney Spears questions. Stuff like that.
I think a couple of times Angela and I did a live stream where we did a Jeopardy game based upon AA trivia. It was a lot of fun. We should do that again sometime. It was fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun, and we've got a ton of those available, and you learn so much making those boards. I learned about Bill's mistress and all this good information from the thing. Anyway.
Then it looks like the first event is going to be at 9:30, and it's an open AA meeting moderated by Michelle, and it's going to be about steps 1, 2, and 3. Okay.
Yep. That's just a general step 1, 2, and 3 meeting, which is great. I think one of the nice things about these workshops is that not only are they good to attend, but they're good to attend to help other people. So if you have a good perspective on steps 1, 2, and 3, that would be a meeting that would need your would value your input, because a lot of newcomers are going to be coming to these meetings or to this convention and hanging out with us.
The best description I have heard about how to understand those steps was from Steve K when I talked to him years ago on a podcast. And he said that people, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he said something like, you can take the steps literally, or you can take them for what you actually experience. And if you just look at them literally word for word, and you throw God out, and you can't throw God out, then it looks impossible. But they don't have to be taken as literally as the words, but rather the experience and how you understand the experience. And if you don't understand the experience as having a God or a higher power, then you describe that as you would. And I like that. I mean, the whole idea of, you don't have to take it so totally literal, like it's written. You have some freedom.
I'm really glad you brought that up too, and it's something I really love about your podcast. The subheading of this is varieties of secular recovery,
Mm,
and one thing I've learned. I grew up in traditional AA, but secular AA is where I really found what I would call true recovery. There are so many pathways to sobriety. There's so many different ways, and to throw everything into one, you have to do this, or this is the way the step was written in 1942. All of that stuff. Uh, for some, it works. What worked for me might kill you, though. So we have put together a conference where we talk about all of that stuff, and that's something that if you go through the podcast here, there's just so many resources to stick in one particular train of thought is counterproductive, and secular AA is what really taught me that. So I think this is exactly what you mean. There isn't just one way to look at any of
right.
this stuff.
It's a good time to get in recovery. There's a lot more options available today than there was in 1988 when I was starting out, and access to these options is much more is a lot easier than it ever was back when in the time when I was starting out. And you don't have to just do one thing. You can mix and match different programs and things. It's just a huge, rich abundance of recovery resources out there. So that's we're lucky about that. Then at 10:30, I'm Not Crazy, Navigating Mental Health in Recovery. This looks really interesting. A panel of medical and mental health professionals discuss the complexity of addressing mental illness in the rooms. Panelists include Dr. Kimberlyn R. Richards, a psychiatrist with over 20 years of experience in the mental health industry, specializing in addiction psychiatry. I'd like to watch this one. Maria Hornbacher will be on there. She is everyone's familiar with her. A lot of people here are. Anyway, she's an amazing author, an amazing writer. And then we have oh boy, who else is in there? Jeffrey Munn will be in there, uh, who is the author of Staying Sober Without God. So we're going to be talking about psychiatric medication, PTSD, pain management, eating disorders, uh, therapy, etc. That sounds really interesting. I will attend that. The whole issue of mental health is near and dear to my heart. It's been something that has impacted my family significantly. I have a brother who's schizoaffective and homeless, and I myself am treated for depression, and so it's something that I am interested in. So I would like to attend that. And having and I'm glad that you're going to have Dr. Richards. I'm looking forward to hearing what um, Dr. Richards has to say about that topic. Good one.
So what's next?
Oh, next. Okay. Next, there's a solution troubleshooting Zoom meetings. So people that
Oh
have
yeah, I'm
problems with
going to
Zoom meetings.
that. I'm
Are
going
you?
to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's ours. Our meeting really embraced Zoom and all its functionalities. So we've like every time there's an update, we scour the update to find out what changed, and we like to get people up to speed when it comes to Zoom because there's more. There's a lot of problems that can happen. Things like getting Zoom bombed, things like screen shares not working, or not knowing how to share sound correctly. All of those things are quick fixes in most cases. And if anyone has any, you know, problems with Zoom or anything like that, this is the place to get maybe some input. And then on the next day, we're going to do enhancing your Zoom experience. But that's going to be an interesting thing, and I will see you there, Mary.
Oh,
Cool.
good. So there are two Zoom talks.
Yeah, there's one on.
What's the difference?
Well, one is okay. For the one is the troubleshooting. That's more of the technical aspects. The other, if you've ever been to an Oh My God meeting, we have sound effects and graphics and videos and polls and all kinds of different stuff that makes it much more engaging for particularly people that you hear the same thing in the meeting over and over again, or it's the same format. It's just to add a little bit of spice to it. There's a lot of resources online that you can do virtual chips, for example. There's all kinds of different things. So it's just like little tips and tricks to maybe bring to your Zoom meeting to spice it up, bring it to the next level, kind of stuff.
Great. I'll be there.
And then at 11 o'clock a.m., Como cambiar pasos 6 y 7. That is how to change steps 6 and 7. I like that you're doing the Spanish translation. How's that going to work? Is there going to how does that work? How did you do the translation? Do you know?
Joe, that is a question for Joe. Are you there, Joe?
Okay. Joe M says he would like to do a group that's willing to do AA bingo. We could try that sometime on the the live stream. Jason has a comment here. Secular OA is having a food freedom workbook study, secular path to rational eating. We will meet as a large group. Is this going to be at the conference that he's talking about?
I don't think so.
No,
Oh, something else. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Jason, I might have you on
Yeah, let's have you on the podcast before November 6th.
Absolutely, Jason. We'll have to talk about that. I'd love to have you on. I've had the secular OA folks on the podcast before, and they've got a great thing going, actually, the secular AA people. We'll definitely do that, Jason. Okay, so step 6 and 7. Those are actually, believe it or not, when it comes to the 12 steps, those are my two favorites.
Really?
Yeah, they are. And you would think that, a person who's not familiar with an atheist and their perspective of recovery and AA might find it odd that the two most God-centered steps would be my favorite. But if you look at those steps where it's just God that does everything, there's very little to talk about. And in fact, in the big book, those two steps are like maybe half a paragraph for each one. But when you think about what actually is happening, this is where you really do the work to change the way you react to life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take the responsibility to do that, there's a whole lot more to say about it. And so to me, those steps represent the real growth that I experienced in my sobriety, where I really started working on changing the way that I think about the world and how I react to life. That's what those steps were about to me, letting go of all the old coping mechanisms that were no longer working and learning new ways of living. So yeah, those are great. But yeah, if it's just God taking stuff away from you, not much to say.
It's Joe sent a message. He said he's going to call in about 10 minutes. There you go. The English to Spanish translation, the reason that they're in another room is that you can't do translations in a breakout room. And I think what it is that if you are connected to the translation, you can either read it or hear it.
I see.
In that separate room. And
cool.
Right on about 6 and 7, absolutely the real action steps. It again, however you translate it, but when they wrote I think when they wrote this 12 and 12, Bill had like 13 years sober, and they're the largest chapters in the 12 and 12. In the big book, they're just like, I think they threw them in to make it 12, personally. I think they just kind of went, okay, we'll put these two in.
Right.
But then they realized, wow, this is really there's
good.
A lot to we can use this. Yeah.
It's an interchange. It's a very inner commitment thing. And it would be wonderful if God would wave a magic wand for me.
It would be nice.
Happen without any effort. Yeah, it would.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
Of course. Have you ever been to 6 and 7 steps? I mean, meetings about step 6 and 7, and nobody really has anything to say?
Yes. Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
Or they'll say, God still hasn't taken my defects away.
But if God wants me to win the lottery, I have to buy the ticket.
Yes.
So that's how I feel about it.
You can pray for potatoes.
I kid the God folks. I kid them. Okay. So
what's this next one?
Oh, the next one. So at 12 o'clock, we have quite a few things going on. We have the Beyond Belief Sobriety podcast with John and Mary.
Yes.
And we've been kicking around some ideas about what we might want to talk about. And one thing I threw out, we're not going to commit to this yet, but I was kind of thinking about the whole idea of inclusion and diversity in recovery. And it came to my mind because I was recently at a conference for work, and there was a really great speaker about diversity and inclusion who when he talked, I was like, yeah, I can relate to the workplace and how it can help me there. But I couldn't help but think about the recovery community because of this podcast. And I talked to people from different areas of recovery, different programs and stuff. And you know, there's a lot of people that are very open that, and inclusive, that, all ways are welcome. But then there seems to be another side where we are really siloed, where this is the way it should be and everything. Anyway, I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting, and we haven't really fleshed that idea out, and we might talk about something
Yeah.
completely different.
And I think this conference is a prime example
Yeah.
of not being stuck in one level of how you do it.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of topics that y'all have already been talking about in the comment section that you weren't aware of. So this conference has something for everyone, and there's topics in this particular conference that I have never seen in an AA conference before. So there will be something, it will be very diverse.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll see. We might just maybe do something that's easy. We not have to take a lot of preparation. Anyway, we'll find out. Then you have the AA Paris Nooner meeting going on at the same time. That should be a good meeting. And then the big event, actually, the keynote address by Dr. George Koob, who is the director of the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. And I heard his talk at the first one of these that we had, and it was very, very interesting. So it would be, he's an expert in the field of addiction studies and addiction. So be very interesting to hear what he has to say. And he says, as NIAA director, Dr. Koob oversees a broad portfolio of alcohol research ranging from basic science to epidemiology, diagnostics, prevention, and treatment. Wow. Lots of stuff there.
So
Play Goofy, welcome. And Tracy, welcome.
That's
good
me.
to have you there. Okay.
That's Mikey's fan club.
Oh, is that right?
No, that's me. The I Play Goofy was me. I just wanted to tell I just wanted to tell him yeah, Tracy's new. I just wanted to tell him that I'm obsessed with AA bingo now. I have to come up with a way to have AA bingo.
Yeah, we got to figure that out now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what's next on the list? Because we've got to get through the
you got a lot of stuff. So Mary's wanting to get us. Okay. Okay, I hear you. Okay.
Chop.
Afternoon with the Atheist at 1:30. They've been doing this at every single conference that except for maybe the first one. I don't think there was an Afternoon with the Atheist. Maybe there was. I can't remember.
The second one?
Yeah, the second one there was, and the third one there was, and ever since then there have been.
Toronto there was, yes.
So always an unabashed, unapologetic, lively session. Vic from New York, John from Washington, D.C., John from Paris invite you to join this year's version of Recovery from Addiction from an Atheist Experience, Strength, and Hope. And that's going on the same time as the Emotional Sobriety Workshop with Alan B. and Tom C. and Patrick N. And that's also very good.
Very good.
I'm assuming that these will be recorded so that if you miss one of them, you might be able to catch it later.
Yep.
Okay. So the Emotional Sobriety with Alan, this is a really good. I mean, I've been to a couple of these that the Arizona group put on with Dr. Berger, and they're really very well done. And it's all about emotional sobriety, which is the next frontier that Bill Wilson wrote about, which is, after you stop drinking, then what? It's all about, changing who we are. It's the recovery part of sobriety, I guess. And Dr. Berger does a great job with that. And I think that would be a really interesting panel to listen to.
He's always good.
Yep. And then we've got so that's the three things we got going on from 1:30 to 2:50, and then at 3, a couple in recovery, Glenn and Karen. Oh, cool. So I've had Glenn on before, and he's the author of Modern 12-Step Recovery, and he's a good friend, and I really enjoy speaking with him. I will tell you that he's an excellent speaker, and he will do a really good job at that workshop. I would recommend it. And how neat that he will be there to talk about recovery as a couple. That would be really interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard that at a meeting before. I think that would be a really interesting discussion. And I know that he would do a really, really good job with it. Oh boy, there's some more comments going on here. So Mikey says that there will be a secular sex issues workshop in the works for the next conference. Not this one, I guess, but the next one. Walker says, just the words, the steps have scared more people away than you can imagine. WTF. They scare some people, but other people not so much. And then Peter T has downloadable bingo cards. Cool. Good to know. Oh yeah, I think he actually has a program for that. So very good. Oop. Glenn's book is so succinct. I'm sorry, Jay. Very true it is. Okay. Anyway, couples in recovery. Now, then at 3:00, we have the LGBTQIA experience, strength, and hope. They've had LGBTQ meetings at every conference, and I really enjoyed the one in 2014. That for whatever reason it stands out in my memory as being one that I particularly liked. It was very light and fun, and I just learned a lot. So it'll be, I'm glad that we're doing it again. We'll continuing to do that. Anything you want to say about that one, Mikey?
I was on that one in 2014.
Were you?
Yes.
Okay.
I was one of the gays.
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was so fun.
That was fun, wasn't it? It was. It was nice. This is going to be pretty amazing. We've got some really great speakers that Brianna has put together. It's going to be great.
Oh, okay, cool.
I love it. And it says Todd is a medical worker and pig rescuer from Eastern Maryland. Robin is a cat herder and hydrogeologist from South Australia. And Damien is a fearless middle school educator from Dublin. And it's moderated by Brianna.
Oh, my friend Bree. So Kansas City is playing an important role in this conference. Glad to see that.
Yeah, there's going to be an Al-Anon meeting from Kansas too on Sunday.
That is really going to be. They are so psyched.
Oh, the Lawrence Al-Anon group, the Lawrence, Kansas Al-Anon group. Oh, wonderful. Those are great ladies too that started that group, and I haven't talked to them in a long time. So I would actually like to attend that if I could, because they are friends of mine. I haven't seen them in a long time. When Joe C came out, they came to his talk. So we had Joe come out to Kansas City when we were celebrating our 5th anniversary of the We Agnostics group in Kansas City, and the Lawrence Al-Anon group came out. And as far as I know, they were the second secular Al-Anon group in the world. Yeah, the first one started in Boise. Yep. And then came the Lawrence group. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, so after that, we've got ICSAA behind the scenes, or this goes on concurrently with the LGBTQIA experience. We have the ICSAA behind the scenes, a Q&A for the ICSAA board members. So if you have questions about the International Conference of Secular AA or the Secular A organization, or how to get involved with that group, this would be a good one to attend. Anything that Mary or Mikey have to say about that?
Nope, because I'm curious myself. So we'll let Joe answer that when he gets here.
When he gets here, you can tell us all about that, Joe, and call in.
Yep.
Okay, so we're only on day one, aren't we?
Yeah, we're only at 4:30 on day one.
I hope this is helpful to you all that are listening and watching. If you have any questions or comments, call us. The number is flashing there below the screen, 844-899-8278. And of course, you are posting in the live chat, and that's great too. So at 4:30, dopamine and the 12 steps with biologist Bill W. Someone else I know. Boy, I know. So Bill W., he teaches biology, I think, at a college in Louisiana, if I remember right. And he wrote the book, the 12 Secular Steps, an Addiction Recovery Guide, which is it's an excellent book. And what's unique about him is he comes, which is different from Jeffrey Munn's book. So Jeffrey Munn's book is also an excellent book, but he comes with the perspective from a therapeutic side as a therapist, understanding the steps in a therapeutic way. And he brings a lot of great comments and to the steps that way. Bill brings a scientific perspective. He starts off by going through the biology of addiction, and he puts together the steps, in a secular way, and he does it through phases of recovery. So it's really, really good. So here he's going to talk about dopamine in the 12 steps. So interesting. That would be a good one. I'm already excited. That's another one I would like to definitely attend. Bill does a good job. He actually spoke at one of our speaker meetings in Kansas City. He came out to our meeting. Yeah. Nice. Oh, we recorded a podcast here in Kansas City, because he's not that far away. He's in Louisiana, which is not that far of a drive.
And
I
these are
hope
also going to be recorded too. So if you don't happen to get one, you can always go to the website and pick up the recordings after. So you don't feel pressured that, oh, I'm going to miss this. I'm not going to be able to see this. All of it's going to be recorded. So that's something to look forward to.
I might want to reach out to some of these people too and have them on a podcast episode. I see some potential guests here. I haven't had Bill on for a long time, and I'd love to go into more detail about that. And then really, really excellent panel here, bold and beautiful people of color, the BIPOC panel. Presenters from the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous people of color, share their experience, strength, and hope with recovery in and out of the rooms of AA. The meeting is open to all BIPOC members and allies of the BIPOC community. Gosh, so you got two good things going on there at the same time. I would like to go to that one too. So I don't know if they're going to record that one or not, but I would like to do
Yeah, they
that.
will.
And I might want to reach out to those people too to have them on.
And I think Marsha F, I think, is the moderator.
The goddess.
Okay.
I love Marsha. Yeah.
Total.
Cool. That's important to have that. I'm glad that we are. Okay, at 6 o'clock, not an issue, not an outside issue, not an outside issue. NAOA Coda Al-Anon. So while Alcoholics Anonymous is not affiliated with Al-Anon or other peer-to-peer support groups, including 12-step fellowships, there has always been cooperation. True. Many of us fall prey to more than one affliction simultaneously or one addiction at a time. We've actually had a discussion about that on the live stream before, having coexisting issues or what problems or addictions, whatever.
Disorders.
Members from other fellowships or disorders. What do you hang ups?
Quirks.
Quirks. Members from other fellowships gathered to talk about this. Cool. Okay. So that's going to go along with the Marty Mann presentation. And that looks good too. So the Marty Mann presentation, Marty Mann, the lady, the legend, the lesbian, presented by Millie T from San Francisco.
This is a great program. I highly recommend it if you haven't heard it yet.
So I'm a big fan of Marty Mann, and I tell you why. When I first was getting sober, I mean, very early on, like weeks, and I was trying to figure out what the hell went on with me. I went to the library and I was trying to figure out, why I didn't know I was an alcoholic or whatever. And I started reading all this stuff about alcoholism, and Marty Mann kept coming up over and over and over and over again. And so I read a lot of her material before I even knew that she was in AA, because she was actually the founder of the national, what was it called at the time? It was the alcohol and drug addiction, whatever. She was a founder of the whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was a big organization that was national in scope, and it addressed problems of addiction and alcohol. And she worked with the government and everything to try to increase awareness of the problem of alcohol use disorder, starting back in the 1950s or whatever. But anyway, she was a real pioneer in a lot of different ways. So I'm a big fan, and I would like to learn more about her.
And this lady Tilly, who does Millie T from San Francisco, does an incredible talk and PowerPoint presentation with pictures. It's a wonderful history lesson. If you don't know anything about Marty Mann, definitely check in, because it'll give you a lot of information that you have never heard before, I'm sure.
Bree recommends it as well. And Goofy reminds me that it's the National Committee for Education on Alcoholism.
Thank you for Googling that, Goofy.
I like, it was an organization.
Right? That thing.
I got that part right. Okay. Authors Roundtable from 7:30 to 8:50. Roundtable with prominent authors: Glenn R., Jeff M., Beth A., Bill W., Maria H., Vince H., who have influenced the secular AA community in an impactful way. I have read all of their books. All of those authors, I have read all of their books. I think I've had all of them except for Maria, believe it or not. I never had Maria on the podcast before. And I'll tell you why. I am so in awe of her. I really am. You're
fanning out, John.
I'm in awe of her.
Starstruck.
And I am starstruck. And I've just been too shy to ask her to come on. I think, she's too big time for me, I'll have to ask her sometime.
Yeah.
I've got her contact info.
There we go.
I think she's a friend of mine on Facebook. I can Facebook
there you
her
go.
Too. But yes, I am in awe of her. She's an amazing writer. And her book, Waiting, was very influential on the early days of our Kansas City group. People just loved that book, and we used to read from it a lot during meetings. People would work with sponsors through that book. And it was just a very popular book. So kudos to her. Anyway, where am I now? That was why was I
Bu-
Round.
talking about Maria?
Bubble says, "Oh, the
Oh, the
authors
authors.
roundtable."
Yeah, she's one of the authors. And then of course Jeffrey Munn, Glenn R, Beth A. Okay,
Bubble
very
sees blonde says the Marty Man is the best presentation she's ever seen on the web. That's
It's really
awesome.
good. 100% great. Yes.
Okay. I have to go to that. Okay. Then another great presentation. I've had Beth on before. We're not all egomaniacs. Adapting to 12 steps for alcoholics with low self-esteem. I think that she first did that presentation at the Toronto conference in 2018, and it was really, really popular. She did an amazing job with it. And then she wrote a book about the same topic afterwards. I had her on the podcast, and she kind of went through that book with me. But it's a really important book because, when you're first presented with this whole idea of recovery, at least through AA anyway, you're presented at it from the perspective that, you must be an egomaniac. Because Bill Wilson was an egomaniac, right? And so it's really presented in that way. And she kind of brings a different perspective that we weren't all egomaniacs. There are different personality types. And she talks about that. And I fall more into her camp than I do the egomaniac side. So I appreciate it. Low self-esteem was a really big issue for me as well.
Yeah, me
Alcoholics have
too.
low self-esteem? I've never
Yeah,
heard of that.
imagine that.
Isn't
Yeah.
that weird?
Yeah, right. So I think back in the day that Bill Wilson wanted to tear down people's egos
Mhm.
in the way they were approaching recovery. And I think she just gives it a whole different flavor from
She
a different
does.
perspective, which is more in keeping with the way I like to look at it.
She does.
Yeah. And she's a good speaker. So that's going to be really good.
I once had an employer diagnose me with low self-esteem. I was selling insurance, and actually I wasn't selling insurance. I was doing a terrible job at it, and I was just a mess at work. And so my boss and his boss had me in the office, and my boss says to his boss, "You know what John's problem is? He has low self-esteem," which made me even feel worse about myself.
God.
Did you tell him no? It's just because I hate selling your boring insurance.
Right.
But the day I left that job, that boss was jumping over his desk ready to punch me out.
Oh wow!
It was a crazy, crazy job. I'm glad, but so I don't sell insurance anymore. But I still work in the industry. They welcome me in the industry. Okay, sorry.
That worked out.
I digress. Okay, so now we go to Lopsided Triangle AA service, past, present, and future, hosted by Corey H.
I don't know
Lopsided
anything
Triangle.
about that one.
I don't know anything about it
Service.
either. But is this a normal, like a regular secular AA meeting that occurs during the week?
It is a meeting. I do know that they do meet. It's on the secular spreadsheet for Zoom meetings. But I think this is an actual panel, a more of a workshop. I guess question and answer again. Joe would.
Oh, good. Well, this is a great topic, and I would love to see this because I feel we need more service. People doing service, I don't feel like it's emphasized as much within the secular community. So I would love to see that.
I encourage people to get involved with it. I've done it for a long time. I've got to the point where I got totally burned out. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but don't take that as a reason not to do it, because during the time that I did it, I met a lot of people. I learned a lot about AA. I got a healthy respect for AA. And it's really interesting the way that it's the way that the service structure is designed. So I'm all for that.
I will. One thing I'll say about service, if you want to get along with your local AA community, service work is the way to do it. We used to be like the black sheep of the of AA. Oh, it's that atheist meeting, it's that those non-believers, until one of our GSRs became the DCM.
Oh,
and
wow.
Now sponsors send their sponsees to us because they see, oh, they're staying sober, they're involved in service, and they really do care about people being sober, and it takes away that stigma. It keeps us sober. That's one of our slogans: is service keeps us sober. And
Right.
it is Absolutely. And how many people's story say, until I got involved in service, I didn't feel like I was a part of, but I started the service, and you're helping pay back what was given to you. So yeah, I'm all about that workshop. I'm
And
totally
Joe
excited.
says it is a meeting, a Sunday night meeting about service, and they talk about issues about barriers, discrimination in AA, and ways to widen the gateway. So
Great.
Awesome.
I
cool.
definitely need to attend that.
Yep. Joe
Yes.
says that he's going to be calling in,
Okay.
y'all. You can't
Yes, you're
say
right.
y'all.
Thank
If
you,
you're from
Joe.
Canada, you can't say
Yes,
y'all.
he can. And I agree, because we've got 15 minutes to go through the rest of the schedule. So
Okay, I'm
let's
sorry.
go.
All right. Okay, so atheists and agnostics down under from Australia, and I'm familiar with that group. I've been to their meeting before, and is this going to be an ID meeting? Okay, an
No,
ID
it's
meeting.
yes, an ID meeting. I didn't
Yeah,
even know what
we're
that term was until
identification
recently.
meeting. Oh, here comes someone from Toronto. I wonder who this could be calling in on
Yeah.
us.
So he's going to get us through it, the whole thing.
Now he is from Southern Ontario, so I guess he can say y'all. Hey, how you doing there, Toronto, Ontario?
Hey, everybody. I mean, you guys are doing such a great job. There were just a couple things I wanted to say,
Okay.
but I almost didn't want to interrupt the flow of it. Yes, Marty Mann started the organization which became the NIAA, which George Koob is now the director of.
Aha.
He is, as Greg O described him, the Fauci of addiction and mental health. He is the top guy in charge of research into addiction and mental health. And he would have, if we met in Detroit in 2020 at the International Convention of AA, he would have ceremoniously been presented with the 40 millionth copy of the big book.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's a real friend of AA, although he is not an alcoholic. This event is free, and we will do a seventh tradition because AA's always wants to break even. Corporate poverty is our motto, and we only want to raise what we need. And we will have very few expenses, but the simultaneous translation is quite expensive because it's quite an onerous task for someone. They need to invest in gear. And what will happen in those rooms is it'll only be one at a time, either English, French, and or English, Spanish. You go in the room, you'll see a little globe on the bottom of your Zoom thing, and you click it and choose language. So if you're English and you press English and the person speaking Spanish, you will hear the interpreter translate in English. And if someone in the meeting is speaking in English, you'll just hear their natural voice. And conversely, if you're Spanish and someone is speaking Spanish, you'll hear their natural voice. But if someone starts speaking English, the translator will translate that for you. So you'll hear everything in your own native tongue in either the Spanish English or the French English. In my imagining of what AA can be, our whole conference will be that way, and maybe other languages as well. But it's baby steps. We have to get there somehow. So that will cost a lot. So we will be doing a seventh tradition through that. With the general members meeting, you've already talked about meeting the board and come and ask questions, especially if you're service curious. Come to the meeting and ask questions and think about getting involved. Do you need expertise? No, you need willingness. All of us are pioneers. We've never even run a general members meeting virtually ever before. So there's no experts. In the Zoom era, we're all pioneers of AA in this new era. So don't think that you need a ton of experience. It's baptism by fire. If you have the willingness, there's ways to find out more about the traditions. There's ways to find out more about how Zoom works. All of that stuff can be on the job training for anyone who's willing to do service. And as Mikey says, or don't, it's just your sobriety.
It's not important.
And so come to the general members meeting because you will get reports from the board. The board does not mean to be a non-transparent behind the scenes entity, but you know, a lot of us, I'm on the board, are the sort of old school face to face, and weren't ready for being a board in a virtual world. So we're way behind on posting financial statements and minutes of the board. There should be a public report to every board meeting, and we've lagged on that because of technical problems. And but really the whole purpose of the general members meeting is so the board can get our marching orders from the people we serve. So come and air your grievances, come and ask questions, come and say what you would like it to be, because honestly, is the board running once every 2-year in-person meeting, or is it an intergroup of secular AA meetings? What are we? That's for the members to decide, not the board to dictate. And the program, the last thing I'll say, will have something that offends everybody. The whole idea of a free thinkers meeting is you will have meetings you get behind 100%, and meetings you find troubling. And that's because you care. And we need people who care. And the problem with caring, if you want the truth to stand before you, never be for or against. And that's a way to have complete objectivity. And that's something for the program committee to do, not for the members to do. The members should go, those people shouldn't be here. And why are we talking about that? That's not AA. That's member stuff. But the board has to give a voice to everybody who needs a voice. And that's really why there are special purpose AA gatherings like this particular meeting.
Interesting.
Good way to language that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
that.
you, Joe. You know, Mary and I offend people every week when we come on.
It's not a good day unless you have
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
So, okay. So we'll go through the Sunday part pretty quickly here. I was going to pick out some things. We got some of the same stuff from Saturday in the morning. And one of the things I think that someone asked about was a plant-based recovery. And I can understand why that actually might be a topic that we might want to talk about, because, you know, medical marijuana, for example, is widely in use now. And how does that impact people in recovery if your doctor should prescribe something like that for a legitimate reason? And maybe there's some other things involved there that I don't know about, you know, but there's something that
well, the term California sober probably came from Central Florida. Mike, you can corroborate.
Probably.
It didn't come from California.
Agreed.
But, you know, it used to be people who smoked weed and did AA were in the closet. And now that it's legal, it's, you know, my doctor prescribes it. I mean, people take SSRIs. People drink coffee in the morning. Like, where do you draw the line? Some people won't eat sugar because that's against their definition of personal sobriety. So it really is an individual thing. Bill Wilson was looking at this in his recovery, and everybody else is. So let's talk about it. Let's not keep it in the closet, and let's not stigmatize it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they have whole documentaries now about psychedelics in recovery from all kinds.
I just read an article about it not too long ago.
Yeah.
So then unpacking the doctor's opinion, that would be interesting as well. I have a memory of the doctor's opinion. I had to sponsor that. I had to read the damn chapter every day for 30 days. And if I missed a day, I had to start all over again.
Oh, God.
Well, the doctor's opinion is at the very beginning. So at that point, I'm really being honest. So if I ever missed a day, I would tell him I missed a day. I must have read that stupid freaking thing. I don't know how many millions of times I read it. You know, it was crazy. But yes, I did do that because I was honest. And after a while, I figured, you know what? If I miss a day, I don't have to tell him that. You know, because I don't want to read this thing for another month. Anyway, that's my opinion. That's the doctor's opinion. That would be interesting to hear. Now, so this is going to be, and I'm sorry for rambling, but this is William Schauberg. So this is actually a serious person, William Schauberg. He's the author of Writing the Big Book, The Creation of AA, which is a huge, gigantic book. I have it. I have not read it because it's huge. It's like that
Not
big,
yet.
but I need to read it. But I think it's got big print, so it might not be that bad. Anyway, he recaptures Dr. Silkworth's original diagnosis and solution of alcoholism as shown in the professional papers of the doctor's opinion. That sounds interesting. So I would go see that. Forget about all the fun I was making about the doctor's opinion, because this guy, William Schauberg, he's a serious historian and he knows what he's talking about. I would go see that.
Truth.
Oh my God.
So it's interpreted into French as well.
It'll be in French as well.
And then the general members meeting.
The general members meeting. Oh, there's my dog. That's my dog.
Hey, poopy doggy.
You know,
that's okay. We love dogs.
This is a new thing for her. She used to never bark like this. Now she just goes crazy. It's probably somebody walking on the sidewalk. Just right.
So at the general members meeting, they'll be holding elections for board members, and it's where the board gets that. So this is another thing they'll be doing on the second on Sunday.
So that's different from what Joe was talking about.
Yes, one is explaining what the board does and talking about it.
Oh,
and then
this is the
next
big
day
meeting to decide what to do.
Electing new members.
And electing people. Okay.
And also talking about where the next conference will be.
Okay.
What city the conference will be
and
in.
Maybe the next one will be live.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. You know, I just went to a conference and came back and I'm still okay. So I don't know.
So it's also for people that if you want to sponsor the next conference, think about it. If you want to have it and organize it for your city or your town, that's the time to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we get some really good stuff here. We got the Kansas Al-Anon group,
the secular Al-Anon group.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful people. Women in Recovery panel. We'd love to see that.
I'll be moderating that, and let me just put in a good word for. We have a vastly diverse group of wise women that will be leading a panel discussion. It'll be a question and answer, and everyone will talk about sort of basically their secular path to recovery and their vision of the normalizing secular AA.
Okay.
And their experience, strength, and hope, and it'll be a great panel. And that's at 5:00 on Sunday.
Mary?
Yes.
People were wondering if you could clarify, is this open to people of any gender identification?
This is open to anyone of any gender identification, humans, any human beings. Anyone is welcome. This is not
it's a panel about women's issues, not necessarily a women's meeting. Okay.
No, it's not a panel about women's issues. It's a panel of women talking about their secular recovery, their experience, strength, and hope. They can talk about whatever they want. It might be talking about women's issues. Everyone will have their own take on whatever they want to talk about.
Okay, gotcha.
But they're pioneer women in the secular world of secular AA.
Okay. And then you've got satanic recovery. I'm so glad that the Satanists are on. I mean, the Satan people are given such a hard time. I don't know why, but anyway,
I can't wait for this one. This is such a good. If you've ever been to one of their meetings, they're just incredible, and it's non-theistic. Their approach. I mean, well, they'll explain it. The approach to their recovery is just refreshing and something that I think anyone can gain something from for one they have to say. I can't wait for that one.
We are almost out of time. I got to say hello to Fernando. Hello, Fernando. Good to see you here from El Paso, Texas. Welcome. We do have a caller coming in from Richmond, Virginia, but I don't know if we're going to have time to take the call. I might just have to be very, very quick. We only have a couple of minutes. I'll go ahead and take the call from Richmond and see what's going on. Hey, Richmond, Virginia, how you doing? Hello? Richmond, are you there? Maybe I have to. Anyway, he's not there. That's okay. We're about out of time anyway.
Yep. So I would just want to give a shout out to the Hong Kong group. The Hong Kong meeting will be at 6:30 on Sunday. It's an open AA meeting.
Okay.
And then there's also one that we haven't talked about yet, Embracing Neurodivergence.
Oh.
Okay, and that is a peer support group of people in recovery from various addictions who are also neurodivergent. We provide a safe environment to explore and discuss our challenges and success with our unique characteristics of addictions and neurodivergence. Some neurodivergent conditions include autism, ADHD, OCD, and learning disabilities.
Okay. Cool.
Another mental health
Yes.
aspect that people ignore.
Hmm.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like
Hey,
there's a little bit of something for everybody there. It looks like you guys did a good job putting together a pretty good panel there. I'm really interested in a lot of different things that are going on there. So good job. I'm looking forward to this. That'll be this coming week. Mary, I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe the
We've got time
inclusion.
to figure it out.
Yeah, the inclusion thing might not be a good idea. Maybe we just I don't know what we're going to do. We'll have to do something. It needs to be easy, I think, because I'm going to be nervous anyway.
Oh,
It'll
please.
just be like another Saturday.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We'll just, shoot the shit and we'll have a topic and it'll all work out.
It will.
Just close your eyes. Don't think about all the people there.
So what I'll do now, I'll play our disco music to say goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks, Mikey. Thanks,
Bye,
Joe.
everyone. It's been
Thanks,
fun.
everybody.
Bye.
Oh, that's not the disco music. I'm sorry. Disco.
No, we want the Shaft theme song.
That's
There
so
you
much
go.
better. Oh, I love it. All right.
Bye,
Bye,
Dale.
everyone. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.